Most Americans don't know about the new nuclear weapons Russia has developed since the end of the Cold War. If Russia were to launch a nuclear attack against any place, even America, we would definitely be destroyed. Michael Schneider, guest writer, Collective Spark, writes, even though war has erupted in Ukraine, most Americans still don't believe that a nuclear war with Russia is a serious threat. The Cold War doctrine of mutually assured destruction, quote unquote, has been pounded into our heads so many times that most people simply assume that it would be unthinkable for either side to attempt a nuclear strike. That may have been true in the 1980s, but things have changed dramatically since that time. The Russians have developed some extremely impressive weapons and anti-missile systems since the end of the Cold War, but most Americans don't even know that they exist. Let's start with the RS-28 Sarmat. While the US still relies on hopelessly outdated Minuteman III missiles that first went into service in 1970, the Russians have developed the most advanced intercontinental ballistic missiles on the entire planet. The war in Ukraine is going to trigger the biggest global food crisis also that any of us have ever seen before. Now, concerning the RS-28, sometimes known as the Satan II, has been in development since 2014 and was famously described as capable of wiping out parts of the entire size of the Earth, the size of Texas or France, by Russia's state-owned media. The missile has a range of 6,385 miles and carries a warhead jam-packed with multiple independent re-entry vehicles, MIRV, that boast a combined destructive yield of 50 megatons. In other words, the RS-28 Sarmat carries a destructive yield greater than 35 times that of Minuteman III. America's most powerful nuclear bomb in service, the B-83, also boasts just a 1.2 megaton yield, and even the most powerful nuclear weapon in American history, the 9 megaton B-53, rings in at less than one-fifth the yield of the mighty Sarmat. The US military has no way to defend itself against Sarmat. The Russians have also developed a very alarming line of hypersonic missiles that we have no way to defend against. In fact, the Russians just released footage of the Zircon hypersonic nuclear missile, which can travel at speeds of 7,000 miles per hour. Meanwhile, the US is way behind both the Russians and the Chinese when it comes to developing hypersonic missiles. But if the Russians were to hit the US with a surprise first strike, they would probably utilize their black hole submarines, quote unquote. The mainstay of the Russian Navy's conventional power fleet are Project 877 class submarines known as the Kilo class to NATO and the West, nicknamed the Black Hole submarine by the US Navy. The improved Kilos are extremely quiet. The class has been built more or less continuously for the 30 years, a testament to their effectiveness at sea. These black hole submarines were designed to be as quiet as possible, and that makes them ideal for a sneak attack. Let's remember what happened about a year ago in the summer when in the Mediterranean the UK Navy was trying to find a Russian submarine, and they gave up because they couldn't find it. And they went to the Indian Ocean. So that was a very humbling experience for the UK Navy. Now, a lot of silencing went into the Kilo submarine of Russia. The hull is described as having the approximate shape of a drop of water and greatly reducing water resistance over older World War II era submarine designs. The propulsion plant is isolated on a rubber base so it does not touch the hull, preventing vibrations from turning into noise that can be heard outside the boat. The ship has a rubbery anechoic coating to deaden noise emanating from the submarine, which occasionally gives the submarines a blocky appearance noticeable in photographs. The air regeneration system can keep the crew supplied with oxygen for up to 260 hours, giving the ship almost 2 weeks' worth of underwater endurance. These submarines have the ability to sneak up to our coastlines without us even realizing that they're there. And once they launch their missiles, we would only have a few moments to respond. As terrifying as that sounds, many experts are even more concerned about a submarine-launched weapon known as Poseidon. You know the Poseidon, that's the tsunami-making thing. Now, unlike the submarine-launched nuclear missiles both Russia and the United States maintain as part of their nuclear triad, the Status 6, sometimes called Poseidon or by its NATO designation of Canyon, is actually a submarine submersible drone. Once deployed by a Russian Navy submarine, the drone can travel autonomously towards its target, covering more than 5,400 miles, as deep as 3,300 feet. And once it finds its target, the Status 6 Poseidon simply parks and waits for the command to detonate. We would never see the Poseidon coming. Theoretically, the Russians could deploy Poseidons to all of our major coastline cities and detonate them all simultaneously, and it just takes a few moments to think about what that would mean. And it has been reported that some Russian officials have said that the Poseidon can be equipped with a 100 megaton weapon. On board this submersible drone is an absolutely massive warhead with some claims saying it carries the same nuclear yield as the RS-28, and others claiming twice that. According to some Russian officials, the Status 6 can be equipped with a 100 megaton weapon, which is 2 times more powerful than the largest nuclear weapon ever even tested. A detonation of that magnitude would not only destroy and irradiate a massive area, its positioning underwater would result in radioactive tsunami that would reach far further inland than the blast itself. In no uncertain terms, the Status 6 is intended to serve as a doomsday weapon. It's the sort of weapon that you build not to win wars, but to end them. Such a weapon could destroy New York City in the blink of an eye, but all of these offensive weapons won't do the Russians much good if they can't defend against our missiles. Unfortunately for us, the Russians have developed the most advanced anti-missile systems in the world. The S-400 and the A-135 are vastly superior to anything that we have, and now the extremely sophisticated S-500 is being put into service. The S-500 is designed, it's like an Iron Dome type of thing. It's the S-500 designed for intercepting and destroying intercontinental ballistic missiles as well as hypersonic cruise missiles and aircraft for air defense against airborne early warning and control, and for jamming aircraft with a planned range of 370 miles for anti-ballistic strike and 500 kilometers or 310 miles for air defense. The S-500 would be able to detect and simultaneously engage up to 10 ballistic hypersonic targets flying at a speed of 5 kilometers per second or 3.1 miles per second to a limit of 4.3 miles per second. It also aims at destroying hypersonic cruise missiles and other aerial targets at speeds of higher than Mach 5, as well as spacecraft. The altitude of a target engaged can be as high as 110 to 120 miles in height. It is effective against ballistic missiles with a launch range of 3,500 kilometers or 2,200 miles. The radar reaches a radius of 1,300 kilometers or 3,000 kilometers, 1,300 for the EPR 0.1 square meter. Other targets it has been announced to defend against include unmanned aerial vehicles, low Earth orbit satellites, and space weapons launched from hypersonic aircraft and hypersonic orbital platforms. If Russia were to launch a nuclear attack against us, we would definitely be destroyed. But most Americans don't realize that the Russians now have systems that have been specifically designed to handle whatever we might throw at them. In other words, the balance of power has shifted. But most of our leaders continue to mock the idea that the Russians are a threat to us. For example, just consider these recent comments from U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham. Senator Lindsey Graham, Republican South Carolina, echoed Risch's sentiment that the conflict will not escalate to the most dire situation. Quote, "Well, it's not going to be World War III. This is all a bluff," end quote, Graham said during an appearance on Sunday Morning Futures. Putin knows that no one wins a nuclear exchange. If he ordered a strike in the United States, a general would shoot him in the head. Where does he get that from? Now, this is the sort of thinking that could eventually get all of us killed. Without a doubt, I believe that the Russians do not actually want a nuclear war, but the Russians have been prepared for one for several decades. And when that day finally arrives, it won't be the US that has the upper hand. So this is from Michael Schneider. He says, my name is Michael Schneider, and my brand new book entitled 7-Year Apocalypse is now available on Amazon. In addition to my new book, I have written 5 others that are available on Amazon. Lost Prophecies of the Future of America, The Beginning of the End, Get Prepared Now, and Living a Life That Really Matters. By purchasing the books, you help to support the work that my wife and I are doing, and by giving it to others, you help to multiply the impact we're having on people all over the globe. I have published thousands of articles on the Economic Collapse blog, End of the American Dream, and The Most Important News, and the articles that I publish on those sites are republished on dozens of other prominent websites all over the globe. I always freely and happily allow others to republish my articles on their own websites, but I also ask that they include this about the author section with each article. That's what I'm doing here. And going back to the article, the material contained in the article is for general information purposes only, and readers should consult licensed professionals before making any legal, business, financial, or health decisions. I encourage you to follow me on social media, Facebook and Twitter, and any way that you can share these articles with others is a great help. During these very challenging times, people need hope more than ever before, and it's our goal to share the gospel of Jesus Christ with as many people as we possibly can. And this is by Michael Schneider on Collective Spark. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.